Hello everyone, this is Arrow, and welcome back to Sundown Moon Up Podfics. Today we will be continuing the fic Bullies by RandomWeirdCat. Chapter 4. Panic? Panic was a good word to use. He was feeling nothing but panic. His hands were shaking and his eyes kept darting around. He looks and studies every little thing around him. Toshinori was in a room full of heroes and police. They were in UA, searching for clues and reviewing cameras. It's been a terrible 2 days. Aizawa actually took off days from teaching to search the streets for anything about Hitoshi and Izuku. His boy was gone and they only had to go off rumors. They had no leads and they knew nothing. They called every hero that could track people, and surprisingly, they all had a range of how far they could use their quirks. Izuku and Hitoshi were far from UA. And it broke Yagi's heart to think about Midoriya when he saw her completely break down in front of his eyes. He was the one to break the news to her about Izuku going missing. It felt rather odd to have a bunch of tracking heroes drive around in large black trucks trying to scent or find the two students, but they needed to try everything. Aizawa texted him and said he interrogated a few criminals, and they said the League of Villains were involved. He felt a heart attack coming. Yagi covers his face with his hands and sighs. All Might? Sakuchi's voice rings through the air. He noticed everyone had grown silent. He peeks through his fingers and sees Sakuchi was pointing at a computer screen. Tomura Shigaraki was standing in front of UA High with his misty companion. Toshinori rushes through the doors and practically flies to the entrance. He sees Shigaraki waving at him. Hello, idiot. Toshinori doesn't hesitate to raise his fist. A voice stops him. Hold it! Nezu was rushing after him with Sakuchi and a few other police officers. What? They haven't attacked yet. They haven't even damaged any property. Nezu points out. They all saw how calm Shigaraki and Kirigiri were being. Toshinori kept his fist raised. Where are my students, villains? Shigaraki shrugs. With the rest of my friends, but that's not really important. Toshinori grits his teeth to keep the blood from shooting out of his mouth. Give them back. That's why we're here. I wanted to talk to you about that. Kirigiri, go. Kirigiri hesitates before disappearing in a portal. Shigaraki sighs. His red eyes peek through his pale strands of hair. The League of Villains will not be returning Izuku, Midoriya, and Hitoshi Shinsou. I don't care if you find us. We refuse to give them back to you bystanders. Shigaraki glances at the other heroes who are running out of UA doors. All Might's smile fades and his anger rises. We will take them back. No, you won't. Shigaraki spat back at him. Nezu takes a step forward. You call us bystanders. Why? You let bullies enter into UA, and you just watch as they as they destroy others. You let Izuku stay broken. You let him face his abuser every day without doing a damn thing about it. Shigaraki's fists clench as he reaches up to scratch his neck. Nezu's tail swishes. UA does not accept bullies. We are strictly against bullies. Yet Bakugo is still walking through the halls. Toshinori jolts forward and his eyes widen. Young Bakugo? He's rough, but he isn't. He hurt Izuku. He helped drive him to suicide. He gave him countless scars, God knowing he's just across the street just makes me angrier. The scratching becomes more intense, and soon his skin is a bright red and there is a few bloody scratch marks. Tomura stops and turns around. Maybe I shouldn't listen to Sensei and I should just go and kill him. Toshinori rushes forward, but Shigaraki is quicker by 1 second. He raises his hand up to the barrier and shoots up to take the hit. Toshinori lets out a scream and jumps over the barrier. Shigaraki! Tomura was already disappearing through the purple portal. Bye-bye, hero. Toshinori throws his whole body at Shigaraki and Kirigiri. Get back here! Shigaraki reaches out and his hand briefly touches All Might's costume. All Might ignores it and pushes forward into the mist. Kirigiri? I know. Darkness covers him as he reaches out. Shigaraki! He raises a fist. Texas Smash! The darkness is pushed from him. The sun blinds him for a second. He notices he's free-falling through the air. He slams into the ground and sees he's standing down the road from UA. Damn it! Shigaraki steps through the portal and stands in the middle of the bar. Kirigiri held 2 suitcases in his hands. You were successful. Toga leaps forward and grabs one of the suitcases. Is this Izuku's clothes? Oh, let me have a shirt or his pants. Tomura pushes Toga out of the way and grabs his suitcase. Back off. Tomura pushes the suitcase into Kirigiri. Give these to Shinsou and Izuku. Kirigiri is gone in seconds. Tomura sits down and stares at his hand. Dabi glances at him with a raised eyebrow. You good? I touched him. I could have killed All Might if I just... Tomura stops himself and reaches up to scratch at his neck. Never mind. Dabi drops his glass. What the fuck did we say about the scratching? He gets up and reaches behind the bar to grab a small first aid kit. Tomura huffs and lifts his head up. Shut up. Dabi quietly bandages his neck. I swear, we need to get you some mittens or some chapstick. I don't need chapstick, Toga giggles, coming from the one with the chappiest lips ever. That's not even a word. Chapter 5. It's been 3 days and Izuku hasn't been left alone. First Dabi was with him, then Compress, Toga, Spinner, Twice, Magni, Kirigiri, and now he was with Tomura. Every few hours they switch places and someone else comes. Izuku still has his cuffs around his arms. He was stuck in a small room. It had a plain bed and cold walls around him. It had a bathroom too, but he had to tell the person he was with that he had to use it, so that was weird. They got his clothes a while ago, so that was also weird. This whole situation was weird. Nobody hurt him. They barely touch him now. Everything was odd. He asked about Hitoshi every time someone new came. He annoyed them with questions about him every single second he got. He tried smacking the cuffs into the wall. He only creates dents in the wall and bruises on his wrists. He was scolded by Kirigiri about the bruises and dents. Again, weird. Tomura was staring at him. It's been 2 hours now. Izuku tries not to make eye contact. It didn't help when there was nothing to do but sit around and stare at the cracked walls and pale ceilings. Shigaraki spoke. Sensei wants to meet you. I keep putting it off. A shiver runs down his spine. You do? Shigaraki crosses his arms and leans back. Sensei won't hurt you, but the doctor is interested in you. He might try something. Izuku bites his lip. He gulps and tries not to nervously tap his foot. I heard UA has been losing its shit since my visit. Tomura changes the subject. He reaches towards his neck and stops immediately. He lets his hand fall to his lap. Kirigiri said you told them Kachan was a bully. Yeah, I did. His hand twitches and he reaches up and takes the hand off his face. He lays the hand down on the ground. Kachan? Tomura raises his head and glares rather lazily at Izuku. He walks over and stands over Izuku. How many times do we have to say this? Bakugo is a bully. Even if you won't tell us everything, we know enough that he's an abusive jackass. Izuku presses closer to the wall. He's dead soon. Now Izuku's the one who glares. Don't you dare touch him! Shigaraki grabs him by the cuffs on his wrist with 2 pinkies raised. I don't know how to make you understand. I understand. No, you don't. Friends don't purposely put scars on other friends. Tomura lets go of Izuku. He sits down next to him and huffs. Izuku stays silent. Tomura snorts. I can't believe the villains have to be the heroes. You're not one of the heroes. The green-haired boy bites his cheek and pulls at his cuffs in a half-assed attempt to break them. You know, you said you were suicidal before Bakugo. Why is that? Tomura changed the subject again. Izuku turns his head away and stares at one of the many cracks in the walls. I'm not suicidal. Those cuts say different. Izuku swings his arms at Shigaraki. The cuffs slow him down, and Tomura catches him before he smacks him. Was it the other bullies? Was it your mom? We checked up on your mom. Jeez, was she a mess? You don't seem to have a father. He left when you were 4, right? We checked on him, and he's in America right now. Red clouds his vision. He pushes with all his weight and slams into Shigaraki. Shut up! Why? Why'd Daddy leave? Is that what made you suicidal? Did your mom say anything? Did the bullies make fun of you? Tomura keeps pushing and poking. He just wouldn't shut up. Neither did the other League members when they were with him. They asked questions and he usually ignored them, but something in Shigaraki's voice just sounded wrong. There was no softness or care. He just sounded like he was mocking him. Izuku hates being mocked more than he hates being pitied. Shut up! Izuku tries to kick and swing at the man under him. Shigaraki keeps his legs down and dodges his heavy swings. I just don't understand why you were bullied, unless those idiots were really just assholes who had nothing better to do. Shigaraki grabs Izuku by his throat. The boy freezes. The villain wore gloves, but Izuku was still unsure if they completely worked. We tried to find Tsubasa, you mentioned. You know, he went missing a few years ago. I think he was 7, and we did find Yoka Mazuka. Toga and Dabi found him. What? Izuku's pushed back into a sitting position. Tomura lets go of his throat and grins. What? Izuku is pushed back into a sitting position. Tomura lets go of his throat and grins. He has that weird finger quirk, so Toga cut his fingers off. Dabi burned off his hair. He had really long fucking hair. They asked if he remembered you. Surprisingly, he did. He felt sick. His stomach was turning and doing flips. He felt like it was going to beat out of his chest and onto the floor. We asked a few questions after cutting off more fingers. I heard he sung like a bird. Told us all the little things Bakugo did and those other brats. I heard the teachers ignored everything and tried to ignore you. You were the smartest of them, and yet nobody wanted anything to do with you. Shigaraki grabs him and pulls him close so his head laid on his shoulder. Is he? He's not dead. He won't be walking ever again, though. Dabi broke his legs. The short answer made Izuku dry heave a sob. They asked why, and you won't believe the answer he gave us. When they told us, we were all shocked. Shigaraki ran his fingers through Izuku's hair with his gloved hands. He still raises his pinkies. He said you were quirkless. Tomura glances down at him. I know that isn't true. I saw you break your bones with a quirk during the sports festival, and I saw you punch my Nomu at the USJ. Shigaraki sighs. I asked the good doctor we have if he could pull up your files. Sure enough, you were quirkless right up until you got into UA. Tomura twists the strand of Izuku's curls and watches as it springs outwards. I haven't told the others yet because, well, the doctor just told me in Kirigiri yesterday. Izuku's palms were extremely sweaty in the cuffs. I can't. Izuku's words seemed to trip over themselves. Tomura shook his head. Do not have a panic attack. If you start, I'll start scratching and then I'm going to get yelled at again. Tomura gives Izuku some space. Being quirkless now is like... That's gotta be rough. Society isn't nice to those without power. Tomura crawls over to the hand he left behind and places it back on his face. He stands up and cracks his back. Come on. He walks toward the locked door and pulls out a key. Izuku watches him walk. What? I said Sensei wanted to meet at you, right? So, come on. But you said you kept putting it off. I did, but he's been pushing for this meeting since we kidnapped you. Don't worry about the doctor, he's busy today. Tomura opens the door to reveal Kirigiri standing there with his fist raised as if he was going to knock on the door. Kirigiri lets his hand fall to his side. Master is. I know. Izuku, come on. Tomura makes a hand gesture to follow. Izuku stands on shaky legs. He slowly makes his way over to the two. He could see a hallway with more doors behind Kirigiri. If he could... Purple mist covers his view and he's falling suddenly. Izuku's knees almost hit the ground. Kirigiri held him upright. Tomura's hands were stretched out towards him. Izuku? A voice made him go straight into a panic attack. He wheezes and looks up. Kirigiri must have felt his heart pounding because he starts to mumble words of comfort to him. Take a deep breath, you... Kirigiri, Tomura, leave. The two look at each other. Kirigiri's mist curls around both boys. Master, I don't... Leave. Without another word, Kirigiri and Tomura are gone. Izuku is left shaking on the ground. He couldn't take his eyes off the man. His face was scarred and he was missing his eyes and nose. There were tubes poking into his skin. He looked almost sickeningly pale. You're... All for one? Yes. I take it all Might told you about me, and one for all? Izuku nods. Good. I thought he wouldn't have told you anything. I know I scared him quite a bit a few years ago. All for one stands up and the tubes follow. He makes his way to the kneeling Izuku. The man towered over him like a skyscraper. Izuku couldn't even wipe his already tearing eyes. The cuffs restrict him from doing a lot. All for one reaches a hand out and touches the cuffs. They slide off Izuku's wrists and fall to the floor. All for one chuckles. I've heard so much about you. He reaches down and scoops Izuku up like a baby. The boy sobs. He tries to pull away, but his head is just pushed into All for One's chest. Match your breathing with mine. He places one of Izuku's hands over his heart. He took a deep breath. Izuku listens. All for One walks over to his chair and places Izuku in it. He takes a step back and just tilted his head down at the boy. Izuku reaches up and tries to wipe his tears. All for One kneels down and hands him a tissue from seemingly nowhere. Izuku gladly takes it and wipes his tears. Thank you. He clutches the tissue to his chest. All for One pats his head and lays the base of his palm. Was against Izuku's forehead. You really were quirkless before All Might gave you that quirk to you? All for One pulls his hand back and leans into one of the arms of the chair. Izuku takes a look around. There were monitors and screens surrounding them. The wires from All for One's face was connected to some of the monitors and another machine next to the chair. If I remember correctly, Toshinori was also quirkless before Nana Shimura passed on One for All. All for One spoke as if they were old friends. What? All Might said he couldn't be a hero if he wasn't quirkless, though. All for One frowns. Izuku, what do you know about One for All? The boy kept his breathing steady. He focused on All for One's collar. He told me enough. Yeah, right, that moron is too afraid. So what if he's afraid? Izuku screams. All for One chuckles. He reaches up and pats Izuku's head again. Did he tell you that I've killed every other All for All user? The already tense air felt denser. There's a lump in his throat. That's not really what I want to talk about, though. I'd like to know more about you. I'd like to know what drives you to be a hero when everything points to you to becoming a villain. Alright everyone, that's the end of chapters 4 and 5 of Fic Bullies. The next video is gonna hold 6 and 7. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you all soon. Bye!